Welcome to the Mystical Truths Podcast. This is Rebecca, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's unlock your world. I've really been looking forward to this episode. Sisters Sharon, Mikus, and Tammy Adamski are joining us because Tammy recently emailed me with questions that were such good questions that I thought it would be great for them to join us here, because I'm sure they're not the only ones asking these questions. So they were kind enough to agree. We worked out the kinks, and here we are. So welcome, Tammy.
Hello, and thank you so much for inviting us on. This is such an honor. I just really appreciate it.
I'm glad to have you here. And Sharon.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here, too, and thanks for the invite. I feel very special.
Well, you both are. And we go back a ways. I mean, we haven't seen each other for a long time, but we know each other for a long time now. And, you know, your questions were, I think, just so fitting for what a lot of people wonder about. And there's all kinds of different answers out there. And these are the answers. The ones that I'm going to give you today are the answers that I have found most true and that make the most sense to me or have been provable to me. So, Tammy, let's start with that first question that you emailed me about the soul and where it resides.
Okay. Sharon and I were having a conversation on the phone recently, and she said that she had been watching a tarot reader on YouTube who said that the soul does not reside in a body, it resides on the outside. So that led us to both question that, because we were both under the assumption that the soul resides inside your body. Okay. So that is my question. Does the soul reside inside or outside?
And that is a really good question, because the word reside, I think, is the problem. It's the trouble word. Because when we think reside, we think, well, then it lives there or it bees there. And your soul doesn't really reside in the body, around the body. It's projecting a fraction of its focus through the human body, through the human experience. So as a soul, we're a whole lot of energy. And we don't take all of that energy and plop it into a baby body and have the life experience. And then it leaves the body when physical life here is over. What actually happens is we're too much energy to bring in. And we wouldn't want to bring our entire focus in here, because this is a big place with a lot going on. It's easy to get way too caught up in this. We really require guidance, even if we don't know we're getting it, from the rest of us and all of the others who are a part of this whole creation. So, simply said, the soul focuses a fraction, and we'll just say 20%, just for the sake of example, through, or you can almost say at, this human body or through this human body, and is sort of calling life through it. So the soul doesn't reside necessarily around the body, and it doesn't reside in the body. It's focusing through. And that's why when physical life is done here, we just withdraw our focus. It's not a big traumatic thing. You know, and to me, it's similar to if you're standing, say, in your living room, and you're looking out your window and you're watching some events go on outside. You're still in your living room, but a lot of your focus, not all of it, is sort of entertained by what's going on outside. When you're done watching that, you withdraw your focus and put it somewhere else. So withdrawing focus is just that. It's just withdrawing focus. And we intentionally sort of, I don't even want to say enter the human experience, because we're always a part of the human experience. We're always paying attention. But when we intently focus into one, and I'm just going to say one for now, one body, one life experience, that's what causes the baby, the child, to be. Now, we know conception makes the actual baby, but what gives the baby life? Our focus into it. And then when we meet our means of exit in perfect timing every time, we're just withdrawing our focus. So you said that you did a Google search on that. What happened there?
The first few that I even saw that came up first all said that the soul resides in a person's heart. And that also sparked Sharon and I to wonder, well, if that's true, what happens if a person has a heart transplant? What happens to your soul at that point? Yeah. So we were so very confused about that.
And that's really a good question too, because yeah, that makes sense. If we're saying, well, the soul resides in the heart, then yeah, if you take the heart out and give it to somebody else, are you taking the soul and now would you have two souls in a body? Does the other soul leave and this new soul comes in? It's not like that, right? The soul is focusing through the human experience. So the human body is like a machine. It's like a living, breathing machine. Parts can be taken out, replaced, even transferred from one person to another. So when that one person meets its means of exit and what we say dies, they don't need their heart anymore. They don't need the body anymore. So we can take some of those parts and donate them to somebody whose life experience is not yet over. And that person will feel some sense of the original owner, so to speak. But the soul is not transferred because the soul is not attached to the heart. There is still the essence of that soul that was residing there as far as focus goes. But the heart can be given to somebody else. And now that heart is working in that body that soul is focused through. So although there is still an essence of the person or the personality maybe that had it originally, the soul is not focusing through there. There aren't two souls focusing through. There isn't a switch of souls. This is just the same soul focusing through the same body that now has a heart that was in a different body before.
Okay.
So Sharon, I think you had a question about somebody being young and healthy and they were stabbed in the chest.
Yeah. If a young person had, was really into life and was very happy and they got stabbed in the chest and died, there was no reason for them to actually die and give up life, where the other person with the same circumstances got stabbed and they lived, but they didn't have the joy of life that this first person did. Who makes that decision?
The soul.
The soul makes the decision to stay or leave.
Not consciously. Well, unless it's suicide, which is fine. Not recommended, but fine. The soul, we all, before we decided to take on another life experience here, because we love to do it. There's a lot of growth, expansion. It makes eternity eternal. When we get here, it might not seem like such a fun ride, although it can be. We decided that for many reasons, not just for ourselves, but for the whole, we wanted to take on this particular life experience. And we have free will. We're not made to come here, but we set up we have ideas, just like an actor picking the next role in a movie, we'll say. An actor wants to take on different roles, learn different things, stretch the acting muscle in different ways. So that's the watered down version of what we're doing here. So we decided that these sort of details that I'm setting up, just some parameters, are really going to be useful for what I'm going in for this time, to expand my soul, to spark desires that lead to eternity, more eternal things, more. We know that it could be useful this time to have a particular type of personality that may have different challenges, that maybe the family unit will be some of those challenges. And so we set up these certain details because we know nothing breaks the soul. We know we're going to be fine. We know we have guidance, especially our inner being. And so we're happy to do that. We're happy to set those parameters up, but we have free will. So I don't think we know exactly how we're going to play it out, which is the fun of it. Just like an actor taking a role, having a pretty good idea about, what they want to get out of this and what this is going to do for their whole acting position. So similar to that, we have an idea, like I've set up some good things here. And so in we come. We have that life experience, but we also had an intention about perhaps how long we were going to stay, or if certain things occurred, that would be good timing for us to exit. I'm not sure that we have one like death date. I don't think that's the case, but I think there are details by which it's really just best for us we're done. We're good. We're done right there. Sometimes it's because there's so much benefit in it for other people or other souls and their growth when we die and how we die. Because as humans, we tend to think that death is a bad thing, which it is not. We tend to think that death is an accident. Just like you said, if one person, two people, very healthy, one gets stabbed, one dies, the other one gets stabbed and lives. We have been taught through religion mostly to think, how is that fair? Where's there a God that says, well, you're done, but you can stay? It's not decided like that. When it's most beneficial for the soul to withdraw its focus, something is going to meet up with that human body to make that means of exit happen. Because we at this point are not necessarily really good at just leaving when it's time to go. Because we take this so seriously and because we have an instinct to survive, which is a good thing. And we get dug in. And we think we're going to do this forever. Something has to eject us. Does it have to be a stab? No. Did that stabbing have meaning for both souls? Yes, it did. And both humans? Yes. Could we just go to sleep and leave our body? Yes, we can. You know, the other side tells us you can be happy, healthy dead. You can. You have free will. You can choose that. But what most people do without even thinking about it is they expect death to be not good. They expect that the longer they stay here, the harder life is going to beat them up, and that the body is going to start to get old and have problems and decay. So since we have free will, our life is what we say it is. Our death experience meets up with something that is around our, I don't want to say expectation because it's not the right word, just around our set point maybe, or what would be in some way, I'm going to say the word serving, although that's not the right word, in some way serving us as a soul and others that we're sharing the experiences with. There's so much that goes into all of this. Coming into a life, exiting a life, everything in between, everything after. It's very complex, although it is very simple. It's very full of ease. It's complete love and unconditional love and understanding. And that's why we really should do our best to pay attention to the guidance that is there for all of us, especially your own inner being, who is always paying attention. Those who guide us are always paying attention, always streaming guidance to us. And if we quiet our minds, if we just be more present, we'll be more aware of that. You get nudges without realizing that you got a nudge. You just feel like you want to talk to that person, or you just want to take a nap, or whatever. You want to eat a particular thing. If it feels good, that's the guidance. That's your soul. That's your inner being saying that would be really good right now, or that would be a good person to talk to right now, or now's not the time to go to the store. Although you can still go, you have free will. And we do that all the time. And I think another thing to be aware of is that the guidance that we receive from our inner being, from all of life, from creation, from those on the other side, always streaming, is given in increments. I think a lot of people want like a whole fresh download. But if you think about it, let's say that you want to have a different career, or you want to move to a different location, or you want to look for a romantic partner. I think most humans want so tell me how to get it, where to go, what to do. Just lay it out and I'll go do it. Which really is not ever going to be how it happens. Because I would liken it to if you turn on your GPS and you program in, I'm here and I want to go there. If your GPS said, okay, make a right here, then to go down to this street, make a left, go about 3 miles down, bear off to the right, go about 6 miles down. You're going to see a sign, get on that expressway right there, I-70, whatever. And then ride that out for 13 miles. And then you're going to get off at exit 42. The bottom of the exit, you're going to make a left and then a real sharp right up the hill, and on and on and on. If your GPS said, okay, there you go, happy trails, we would be overwhelmed. It's too much. We would get lost. But what does the GPS do? It says, go here and turn left. Go down here for a mile and make a right. And so it just gives you like a little bit at a time. And that's what your inner being, that's what all of creation is doing for us. They're just nudging us. They're not telling us we have to do these things, but they're looking out for our best interest and our well-being and just giving us little nudges. Like, it would be really nice to walk over there right now. It would be so fun if you just go over there. It reminds me of like back in the day when we had newspapers and there was, I think, Dennis the Menace, who would leave his front door and go to get the mail out across the yard. And you'd see the little dots where he had been on his way to the mailbox. And he's up here, over there, around here, over on that swing, around the garbage can. Eventually he gets to the mail and then he takes a whole different, windy trail back to the front door. And I think, that's a good example of how we're led. Could we take a straight line? Could we go straight to the mailbox and back? Yeah. And sometimes we pay attention enough to do that and we're not resistant. And we go, wow, that was a miracle. Or, wow, that was a coincidence. But most often we're so dug in and we're so thinking 20 thoughts at a time that our inner being will just knows that if we can just get her over here and then we give her this nudge and we can tell her to swing on the swing for a second. And then we can just nudge her over here. She'll eventually get to the mailbox. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so we all know what that feels like, right? To think, that was a weird way to get me to here. I had an English teacher in high school who said if somebody would have told me that I would be an English teacher as an adult, I would have never believed it. But this sort of led to this and this sort of led to that. And, even when he went into college, he had no intention of being a teacher. And he was great because life just led him over here. I call them breadcrumbs. If you follow the breadcrumbs, if something feels good, pick it up. If something doesn't feel good, don't pick it up or don't do it. Don't talk about it. Your feelings are a great guidance system. Pay attention to how you feel. Because we don't necessarily have the sort of a microphone like we do right now from spirit or your inner being saying, okay, this would be a good thing to do. Or go talk to that person that's really going to help you. Sometimes you can get, you're getting that kind of guidance, but for the most part, it's just little nudges that you think are your own thoughts. So you pay attention to how they feel. If you're having a feeling of, I should go talk to that person, I really don't. This doesn't feel good. This just doesn't feel good. Then don't do it. Could it be good for you to do it? Maybe. Maybe it's just your own fear of speaking to somebody that's getting in the way, or maybe this is just not good timing. Either way, not a good idea. But if you're feeling like, I really feel like I want to talk to that person, it feels really good, like I feel like I just want to walk over there and say hi, then I would absolutely do it. And you don't have to make up your mind in that moment what it's going to lead to. Follow what feels good. Follow what feels good. So what other questions do you have about the soul?
I have one about if you are alive, can somebody see your soul?
Sure.
Somebody else can see my soul even though I'm living?
Yeah. In the physical body or out of the physical body, your soul is viewable, knowable, conversationable, so to speak, because your soul is always, it's just energy. It's alive. It's vibrating. You can think of it as pure liquid love and light. Can it give you images of what it looked like in a body? Sure. Can it sound like what it sounded like in the last body? Yeah. So right now, if somebody relaxes and just sort of tunes into you as a soul, then they're going to see more or hear or feel or sense more than Sharon. They're going to see the bigger aspects of you. Likewise, if a person is no longer in their physical body, we can focus on the energy of the soul that we knew to be in that body and get a sense of that, whether it's a seeing thing or not. And, like I said, sometimes it's just easier for us to see the image of the person that we last knew them to be. That's why a lot of times when people have a near-death experience, they'll see a religious figure or something that they can relate to. It's not that spirit or source is coming and being Buddha to them. Or it's not that Buddha's actually there in the sense that we think a separate Buddha or Jesus would be there. Some people say, I saw Mary. Well, you saw what most fit you. Without realizing it, we put sort of the acceptable image to it as we're tuning. So again, it's not so much a conscious thing, but it could be. But it's more just something that happens because it's the easiest way for you to see it right now in this moment. So yeah, and that's how we can tune into people after they've passed, from the life experience. And we can tune into, you could be in another part of this world. We're only towns away right now. You could be on the other side of this planet and I could tune into you. Because non-physical, which is what we really all are, doesn't do time and space like we have it on this planet. And that's why you can project forward in time, backward in time, in real time, which is always best. That's how distance healing works.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody in LA the other day, and I'm in Pennsylvania. And, I've been talking on the phone for years. And as we're having this conversation, I just had this thought, like, we don't really need this phone. Like, this is scientific. Like, we can say, her voice from California is here in Pennsylvania with me in real time. Because we have these waves and we have this device and it puts her voice through that and into my ear. And I thought, we won't need these phones eventually. We should get to a point where we can have these conversations without the cell phone. And it will be scientifically provable, just like the stuff we know now. Because thoughts are real things and thoughts don't know time or space. It's just that generally speaking, as a people, we're not really good at just connecting with so-and-so right now. And how do we do that without, invading their moment of whatever they're involved in? Eventually we'll know that this is a good time. And they will know that this is a good time and a connection will happen. But I don't think that, like right now, we have to make arrangements. Is it okay if I call you later? Is it? We prefer to text first, instead of, because, and that's easy because they can just answer later, or if they're busy, they don't have to take it. But eventually, and I'm sure this is how it is in non-physical, that things just sync up. If you have a desire, something about that will synchronize and make that possible. And you have the desire in perfect timing. It's just a little more muddy here. It's sort of like, there's just so much dense stuff going on. But we're we're definitely lightening our load as we go. We're stretching in all new ways, not just in technology, but in questions like this. There are so many people today that are curious and saying, okay, well, a lot of the things that we used to think just actually don't make sense. So what's really for real? Just like you're saying, well, where does the soul really hang out? Where does it reside? Where do we put it? Like, if it's a package, where do we put it? Well, the soul's not a package. The soul is a sort of, you can think of a streaming radio frequency. That might be one way to think of it. Because, and this is another thing that's tough for us, is we are all source. And we think, well, if we are all source, then why is Tammy over there and Sharon's over there and Rebecca's over here? How can that all be one if we're having totally different experiences? It helps if you think of source being sort of like a expanding energy that can multitask and multi-focus in all kinds of different directions. And that it's just a tough one for the human brain, because we think, well, then what about other planets and other beings on other planets? And then we've got a lot happening in our oceans and in our skies and in our galaxies. And then there's galaxies. We're getting there. We're opening up more and more, and we're able to receive understanding of broader perspectives, but we still have a ways to go. That stuff, some of that stuff right now is still kind of a brain bender. Like when we say things like,
absolutely.
yeah. Like when Spirit says, so everything's happening all at once, all the time. Generally speaking, the human brain goes, what? That would be a shit show. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. That would be. You have to mark your episode as explicit material, which I guess I could do. So let me see, where was I on that one? So that would be In our minds, it would be like everything I've done my entire life and then my other lives and then my future lives all happening at the same time. That seems chaotic to us. But there is some way. And I think how this really works is if you think of when you have a desire for something, multiple ways to the means of that are synchronized simultaneously. So let's say you want to have let's say a really great meal. Well, a whole bunch of different ways to a really great meal are mapped out. If you're not really feeling like you could get a good meal, then you're going to get the versions that are mapped out because you had the expectation when you had the desire. You're going to probably navigate to the means to a meal that aren't really as great as you were hoping for because you weren't really expecting. Sort of like if I want a new relationship, I want a really great relationship, somebody that's just perfect for me, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, and it never works out that way. Right. I hope it's not like the last one. I hope it's not like the one before that. Well, now, there are all these possibilities lined up for me, but I'm going to gravitate to the ones on the not so great side of what I just asked for. Because with free will and with the law of attraction and the way our thoughts create, we, without meaning to, gravitate to the not so great relationship when there were plenty of other better ones lined up. And that's why cleaning up our expectation is really important. Okay, so where did that lead us?
Are you asking for us
is there anything that you wanted to add or question next?
Okay, I have a question. What is the difference between your soul and spirit? And does your spirit keep you alive?
Well, the difference between your soul and spirit is really no difference in that when we say spirit, sometimes we mean a soul. Like I can see that spirit. And sometimes we mean spirit as in all of it, like those in spirit. Or when I return to my spiritual fullness. So the word spirit can be used different ways, but when we say soul, we generally mean like this being that I am, me and my higher self, with the inner being, the rest of me that's not fully focused right now. That's not really two me's. You could say, well, that's me and me, like me, the human, and me, the rest of me that's not physically focused. But that's sort of separating it. You are just one, partially focused, the rest not. So the spirit part of it, we are spirit. We are all spirit. We are all souls. But we can use that word spirit to collectively put us all in one soup, so to speak. And then what was the rest of your question?
Does your spirit keep you alive?
Absolutely. Your spirit is always alive, and it keeps the physical body alive because it's focused through it. Once that withdrawal happens, the physical body isn't needed anymore and ceases to live in the form that it did before. So, yeah, when you focus into a life experience, a baby is alive. Now, people will say, so this is especially along the abortion questions, when is it okay to like end a baby life? Like if we want to do an abortion or something like that, are we kicking a soul out? Are we disappointing a soul that wanted a life experience? And we just said, no, sorry, we're hitting the reject button. No, nothing is a surprise to anything on the other side. They're way ahead of us on everything that we're up to. The intention of whether a person is going to want to continue that pregnancy or not was known prior. I heard somebody at a spiritualist community one time. He was, reading a bunch of people giving messages. And he said to a couple, I see that you had a baby that came in and didn't live very long at all. And it was, I think, if I remember correctly, like just toward the end of the pregnancy. And they said, yeah, that's correct. And he said, that's because the baby was going to be defective and God took it back. Well, my head almost exploded because I thought, what are we teaching people? Like, please learn more about this before you teach people stuff like that. Now, that's just me wanting to be always true or whatever truth is to me. To each his own. I mean, my head didn't want to blow off for him, but inside me, I'm like, oh, let me get up there. Let me just say one thing. Because there is not a God that is saying, oh, wait a minute, that one's going to be defective. Let me take that back. And then say to the other ones, well, you're defective, but go ahead in anyway. I'm not taking you back.
Right.
This is a soul that knows the experience it's coming into, knows if there's going to be certain shortcomings to what other people would call a healthy life, and is agreeing and wanting to come in for so many different reasons that are beneficial to that soul and to others. So when we have a woman who is pregnant and she says, I really do not want to continue this. I don't want to have this child. This is not a soul that goes, oh crap, like I thought I picked a good one. That's a soul that knows that this is not going to be, I'm not going in. This is actually just like a thing for her and for other people right now. And, or a soul that just is agreeing to come in for half a pregnancy just to test the waters, maybe just to provide that experience for people. So what about the mother that people talk her into and the soul comes in? Well, again, that's just part of what was syncing up. So there's not a God that is calling the shots and saying, you get to live, you get to die, you're going to be stabbed, you're going to get pregnant when you don't want to be pregnant, and then you're going to keep it because I want you to keep it. It's not that kind of, we're not controlled like that. Everything that happens here, whether we want to call it good or bad, is happening for the experiential learning and expansion of all of us. And that's getting better and better and better. It's getting easier and easier and easier to be here. The sort of the mindset humans have been under for a while, and humans have been on this planet way longer than we think. But just in these past, I don't know, we'll say it could even be 10,000 years, but I'll say 5 to 10. We've been in a really rough way of living where we will beat each other and make each other conform and control each other and things like that. Well, we're shifting out of that, I'll say. We're expanding. And this is why you have more people asking questions about, well, where do we come from? What are we really doing here? What's going on? Are there other planets? What are we up to as a soul? What's the point in us being here? The point in us being here is to be leading edge creators, to keep expansion going, to keep eternity being eternal, to have experiences that allow us to grow and learn, because experiential learning is really a great way to go, isn't it? You know, if I tell you what it's like to maybe tune into somebody on the other side and sense that energy, well, I can tell you all day long, but it doesn't do you nearly the service of you actually having that experience yourself. So that's why when people say to me, right, I don't believe in any of this, well, that's fine. Maybe you just haven't had the experiences that I have, you know, to help me believe.
Right.
So does that answer most of your questions about the soul? Is there anything hanging that you're still wondering? Yeah, but.
Well, I do. Just along the lines what Tammy was just saying about spirit and soul. So if they're the same thing, well, this is kind of like another question too on top of that. Like, does animals have souls?
Yeah.
But this becomes the other question that I want to ask. If, like a horse, someone says, oh, we broke his spirit. Are they actually meaning they broke his soul? Can the soul be broken?
Never. We're not that smart. Not. It's not even that. It's just no, it's not. A soul is never broken, never needs fixed, can't be destroyed. However, we also use the word spirit to mean our will, our compliance. So when we say somebody broke that horse's spirit, that really means that they did to that horse what they do to a lot of people. They tell them, you have to behave the way I want you to behave, and then we can get along. I will do this and do this and do this until you finally give in. When with any animal or any person, there's a much better way. You can tune into the horse and sort of blend, in a sense, blend the love that you both have. And you'll not only have a great friend and teacher, because that's what creatures are, there are teachers as well, you'll have a horse that will let you ride it. Animals are spirit. They are souls, so to speak. They're just the animal body, the animal experience is just a different thought than humans. if that makes any sense. So from the spiritual perspective, it's a different intention. And if you think about it, the animals, when we leave them to be who they be, are full of intuition and instinct. The horses, if you watch a group of horses that are free, they just all start running in that direction. And then they'll stop and do this, and then they go in that direction, and then they have their babies and they know how to raise them, and they cooperate with each other. It's like watching birds fly in formation. How do they know? There's not a conversation that happens in, say, the herd of horses, where there's a horse that says, all right, we're going to go. And Ted, you're going to be over there, bringing up the rear. Sally, stay off to the left. Put the little ones in the middle. And then, Alice, I want you to be up front and keep your eyes open for danger. And the rest of you can just follow in. We know what we're doing. There's none of that. They just be. And there's an impulse. And they go. And they switch maybe places. Or they just get their young in the middle, or whatever they do. There's not a thought process. There's not a figuring out thing that's going on. They just follow an impulse without even thinking about it. And we can do that too, but we are more intentional thinkers. And that's why it's a little more mixed up for us. It's fun to watch nature, because if you just sit and watch a squirrel, a firefly, anything, you get to realize that they know what they're doing. And there's no real agenda. But, I feed the squirrels and the birds and whatnot, and I like to think that they come up to the window and look in and say to me, you didn't put the seed out yet. I'm ready. Because we want to make them human. But really, their instinct is, I come here for seeds, and I know I see that woman in there. I don't even know what they're thinking. It's just impulse. It's not like they're going, I have to go over there to the window ledge and go into that feeder. And then if she's not there, I have to look in the window. And then I have to, one of them was climbing on my bedroom window right above where I feed them on the screen. One morning when I came down, or was still upstairs much later than I would have been. And I thought, are you coming to get me now? To come and get your seeds? And yes, maybe out of instinct, but I don't think there's the thought process of, where is she? She didn't put the seed out. Oh, maybe I sense her. She's upstairs. I'll just crawl on the screen and get her attention so that she remembers that I'm out here and I want some seeds and some peanuts. So there's not the thought process like we have. They just follow that. Maybe Source is giving the impulse that, oh, well, if you go up, she's right up there. And if you do that, you'll get her attention. And then there could be all of that happening, but it's not the thought process that we have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think, I like this. I like this conversation. I like just this one-on-one and addressing the curiosities, really. I mean, that's what I'd like to keep doing this. If you guys want to come back on at any point, or if any of you out there have questions or you want some free life coaching, email me at rebecca@mysticaltruths.com. and let me know, because there are a lot of people asking a lot of questions these days, and there are a lot of really good answers. And I'm not saying that I have the best ones or that I have the only ones, but I think I have a pretty good truth radar. And I do hear things out there that are coming from people who are teachers or channelers or whatever that I think are wonderful. And I hear some things that make me go, oh, no, not that. Because, but again, whatever is said out there is for the person that is hearing it, and it all fits somewhere. But like I heard and we could even talk about soul agreements sometime if you guys want. But I heard somebody who channels was on a podcast, and she said that, she's come to understand through her channeling that when a soul commits suicide, they shatter the contracts of all those around them. And I wanted to jump through my phone, because I thought, don't tell people that. Don't put that out there, because what are we doing when we say that? First of all, it doesn't feel good, so it's not true, in my opinion. in anything I've learned. Nobody has the power to shatter your contract. And it's not really a contract anyway. You didn't sign anything. You didn't say that it's written in stone. It has to be. It's just you agreed to come in here and you set up your parameters and yeah, you want to honor that. But when somebody commits suicide, they just consciously decide, I'm going to go now. And maybe they go in a way that's traumatic for them and people around them. So underneath all of that, it's serving everybody in certain ways, whether they realize it or not. But it does not. It might alter some things. Maybe that we all knew before we came in that person might check out early. They might not be able to, maybe they didn't take a big enough percentage of their focus. They got all cocky about it. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but, and just couldn't make it. They decided I'm done. We've all done that. We've all had experiences here where we just checked out like, oh, I'm not going any further with that. Maybe that's what happened there. And because it's for different reasons for everybody, but we'll say for the sake of example. And so the person, or the soul rather, is going right along with the free will of the percentage of focus that's here in the human experience and in that thought process with the brain involved that decides I'm done. I'm checking out. Yes, we might have known that was a possibility, and we were all prepared for the changes and the differences that would make in the life, whether that person stayed or not. So nothing to your soul is a shock or a surprise. Everything has honey in it, and you'll hear me say that all the time. Look for the honey because it's in everything, even the really bad experiences, things that we want to label bad. Everything is just information. But if you're looking for the honey in anything that happens in your experience, you will find it. And there's always more honey than you're going to find anyway, than you're going to see. But if you're determined it's not there, or you're thinking this is just bad, there's no good in this at all, you're going to have a tougher experience. It's going to be a rougher ride.
Right.
So thank you both for being here. This is the first, and I think it's special that you two were here for this, that this has just sort of happened because you just sort of happened to start an intuition group years ago with me. So yeah, and here we are again. So this is a lot of fun. Yeah, so we can do this again if you guys want, and anybody else out there, absolutely. Let's just have fun with this. I'm really more interested in the everyday person, so to speak, and what you want to know, what you're reaching for, what you're asking. This is, at this point, the show is not promoting anything. Tammy and Sharon are not here to promote their book, or not that there's anything wrong with anybody doing that. I think that's fine, but I'm more interested in, let's just all learn from each other and educate and get some answers. So again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Well, anytime you want me back, you just give me a call, send me an email. I'll be here.
Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Oh, you're very welcome. And for everybody out there, let us know what you think. Like, did this work for you? Is this a good idea? Do you want to keep hearing this? And if anybody wants to come on, you don't even have to use your name. This is all audio. We don't have to do it in one perfect take. There's editing involved before it goes live. So it's such an easy process. So as always, you can find me at mysticaltruths.com.